Roses is a municipality in the comarca of the Alt Empordà, located on the Costa Brava, in Catalonia, Spain. It is the site of former bishopric Rotdon, now a Latin Catholic titular see. It is situated on the coast at the northern end of the Gulf of Roses, and is an important fishing port and tourist centre. The C-260 road links the town with Figueres. History. Early history. The origins of Roses are disputed. A popular theory holds it was founded in the 8th century BC by Greek colonists from Rhodes. It seems more probable, however, that it was founded in the 5th century BC by Greeks from Massalia, perhaps with an admixture of colonists from neighboring Emporion. Remains of the Greek settlement can still be seen. Remains from the Roman period go back to the 2nd century BC and continue well into Christian times with a Paleo-Christian church and necropolis. After the collapse of Roman power, the town seems to have been abandoned, but a fortified settlement from the Visigothic period has been excavated on the nearby Puig Rom. Around the monastery of Santa Maria de Roses grew the medieval town of Roses, which fell under the shared jurisdiction of the abbots of Santa Maria de Roses and the counts of Empúries. In 1402 the county of Empúries was incorporated in the Crown of Aragon, and Roses acquired the right to organize its own municipal government and economy. Fortification. In the first decades of the 16th century, Roses suffered repeatedly from attacks by privateers from North Africa. To counter this threat, Charles V ordered the construction of extensive fortifications in 1543. In spite of these precautions, a naval squadron led by the Turkish Admiral Barbarossa attacked and plundered the town some months later. After substantial revisions, the fortifications were completed in 1553, under Charles's son Philip II. The entire medieval town was now enclosed by a bastion pentagonal wall. The defensive system was supplemented by the Castel de la Trinitat, some 2.5 kilometers to the east. The town received a permanent military garrison, which changed its character profoundly. To minimize friction between the citizenry and the soldiers, barracks were constructed, but this did not prevent a gradual movement of part of the population outside the walls, where the modern town of Roses now is. In the following centuries the fortifications were severely tested. In 1645, during the Catalan revolt, French troops besieged Roses and captured it. The Treaty of the Pyrenees restored the town to Spain. In 1693, during the War of the Grand Alliance, the French captured the town again. This time the French occupation lasted until the Peace of Ryswick in 1697. In 1712, during the War of the Spanish Succession, Austrian troops tried to take the city, but were driven off. In 1719, during the War of the Quadruple Alliance, the French again attacked, but failed to take Roses. After a long period of relative calm, the wars of the French Revolution ushered in a new round of hostilities. In 1793, the French revolutionary government declared war on Spain. At first, the Spanish armies won a foothold in France, but in 1794 the revolutionary armies invaded Catalonia. The Siege of Roses lasted from the 28th of November 1794 until the 3rd of February 1795, when the garrison was safely evacuated by a Spanish naval squadron. Except for 300 unlucky soldiers, the town was surrendered to France. But the war between France and Spain ended at the Peace of Bâle signed in July 1795. The city quickly returned to Spanish control. In 1808, Emperor Napoleon I of France forced King Charles IV of Spain and his son Ferdinand to abdicate and installed his brother, Joseph Bonaparte, on the throne. When the Spanish people revolted against this high-handed behavior, French armies invaded the country again in the Peninsular War. The fourth and last Siege of Roses occurred in 1808. During this operation, the famed Scottish captain of the Royal Navy Thomas Cochrane assisted the Spanish by putting his men into Castel-de Trinitat to help defend the town. The Scots stayed until the citadel and the town surrendered, before finally evacuating himself and his men. In 1814, when the defeated French withdrew from Spain, they blew up the town's fortifications along with the Castel-de Trinitat. At this time, the ancient town, called the see.It, was completely ruined. Meanwhile, to the east the modern town slowly continued to grow. Contemporary age. In 1879, Roses suffered a devastating economic crisis through phylloxera, a pest of the grapevines, which destroyed the town's wine-growing industry. Part of the population moved to Barcelona or emigrated to the United States. In the 20th century, notably in the period after World War II, Roses has profited enormously from the growth of tourism. Over the last decades, important excavations have been carried out inside the walls of the see.It. This concerns not only the Greek and Roman remains, but also part of the medieval city and its walls. In the 1990s, extensive restoration work was carried out on the walls of the see.It, and in 2004 a museum was opened inside it. A somewhat controversial restoration of the Castel-de Trinitat was formally completed in 2010. Roses was the home of El Bulli, one of the world's best and most famous restaurants. From 1961 until its closure in July 2011, El Bulli had held 3 Michelin stars since 1997 and was rated the world's best restaurant for 4 years running since 2005 by Restaurant magazine. Ecclesiastical history. The monastery of Santa Maria de Roses is mentioned for the first time in a document of the year 944. Around this monastery grew the medieval town of Roses, which fell under the shared jurisdiction of the abbots of Santa Maria de Roses and the counts of Empúries. As Rotdon, it also has been a suffragan bishopric of the Metropolitan Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Tarragona, but faded. Titular see. The diocese was nominally restored in 1969 as a Latin Catholic titular bishopric. It has had the following near-consecutive incumbents of the fitting episcopal rank: William Tibetus McCarty, Redemptorists; Francis Lenny, Lawrence Forrestal, John Anthony Rawsthorne, Nestor Hugo Navarro, Enrique Benavent Vidal, Jesus Fernandez González, Auxiliary Bishop of Santiago de Compostela.